Tonight on Arizona Illustrated, farm workers and pesticide exposure. Most of us have used pesticides, usually to kill bugs or weeds in our garden, but one segment of the population is exposed to pesticides on a regular basis, the farmers and farm workers. Cases of illness and birth defects from long-term exposure, as well as short-term sickness, were not rare in past decades, but a new law aims to educate farm workers on the perils of pesticides. Tonight, Ted Robbins looks at pesticide education and what it may do for the people who grow our crops.
This is the time of year when Arizona's pecan orchards and its cotton fields bear the fruit of the region's long growing season.
This is harvest time. It's not the time of year for pesticide spraying. That's done in the spring and summer. But this is the time of year when farm workers need to be trained in the proper use and handling of pesticides.
Have any of you ever had any training before in pesticide?
As of January 1st, federal law requires farm workers take classes like this one. It's being conducted by Project PEP, a nonprofit organization with a grant to teach classes all over Arizona.
Do you ever worry about what the effects of pesticides on yourself or your family?
Sometimes I do, yeah, because they're using pretty strong stuff, you know, and you never know when kids are going to get infected or something.
Have you ever seen any harm?
No, I haven't seen no harm of that yet.
We have a life expectancy of 47 years among farm workers, the highest infant mortality rate in the nation. It all comes because of the environment they live in and around farm labor camps, and then they work in the field. So all of it is an environment where there is pesticide and pesticide contamination practically 24 hours a day.
John Arnold, now head of Project PEP, served on the National Pesticide Task Force. That was 14 years ago. It took that long for the Environmental Protection Agency to get enough data so worker protection rules could be stiffened to include pesticides.
If workers are trained, if they protect themselves, then the incidence of injury and illness related to pesticide will decline over time. And that means that EPA will not be in a position of having to respond to problems with pesticides, having to restrict or suspend or cancel pesticides. So having a safe workplace allows these pesticides to continue to be used.
This video is intended to meet the requirements set out by the EPA for
classes will include this video in English and in Spanish. The video is followed by flip charts that mirror easy-to-follow picture guides. Much of the information in these materials seems like common sense.
You may be tempted to drink or rinse off with irrigation water. Don't do it. If the farmer is chemigating, you could be bathing in chemicals.
Other things may not occur to a worker.
While unlined boots made out of rubber are the best. If the boots are lined or made out of leather, they will absorb the pesticides and keep the pesticide particles next to your skin.
These workers have all been employed on farms for many years.
Jeez, practically all my life. I was about 40 years.
40 years? Have you ever had training like this before?
No. We just go to that, the labels. We read the labels. And, you know.
Read the labels?
Like I wash Robert's clothes separately from the regular clothes because it's got that chemicals in there.
After taking a class, a farm worker receives a card certifying they are trained to work around pesticides. The cards are required for every farm worker who works in one place more than 15 days. Migrant or seasonal workers who move from farm to farm are not required to get training.
Arizona farmers say they'll comply with the new pesticide handling and training regulations, but the farmers we spoke with say it's just government red tape. They claim they've been complying with the regulations for years.
These are pretty much what we've done for a long time, but we're going to document it much more than we've done in the past, because now obviously we're required to do so.
We're spraying the same type of chemicals as what you can get at the hardware store today. What's the difference? Are they giving the homeowner training? Or does that guy have to have a card? Is he licensed? We have all of that stuff. We're training all our guys. What more do we have to do?
Pat Pacheco generally gets high marks for the way he runs his farm. His own workers say he puts safety first. Pacheco says he tries to use as little pesticide as possible on his cotton, but he says pesticides are necessary to get profitable yields. Pacheco will now put up announcements and signs warning workers to stay out of newly sprayed fields. But he wonders what will happen when summer comes and workers are required by the law to wear long sleeves.
A lot of our workers like to go around in shorts in the summertime, because it's hot. When it gets 110, 115, you don't want to be wearing long sleeve shirts and long pants.
And Robert Flores says he doesn't own rubber boots. Leather will have to do despite the warning. Farmers can be fined for violating the new law, but it will be up to the State Department of Agriculture to enforce it.
We could be getting reports from employees that they're not receiving proper training. It could be that our field staff randomly stops in and checks a field crew and just sees if what type of training is being given.
Linda Zahn is not a farm worker. Yes. She lives next to a farm in Marana. She attended the class out of concern for herself and her family.
Some days they're spraying on all sides of us here. Where we live, they're spraying in the fields all around us by air. And who knows, about the one going into the ground with irrigation and the powder and stuff.
So what can you do to avoid it?
Nothing. Move.
Education and posted warnings may help, but spraying pesticides will always be potentially dangerous. The new pesticide training law may help cut down on pesticide abuse, but like any law, its effectiveness depends on the willingness of people to obey it and the will of enforcement agencies to implement it.